Hello, everyone.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. All right. Okay. So I think we'll get back to our live sharing session. Yeah. On today, Tuesday. Yeah. Every week. Every week, twice a month, sometimes. So we gonna do our live sharing in Instagram. So stay tuned with our latest topic today that will be presented by our new interns here. So maybe you can help the audience understand. Maybe you can introduce yourself to our audience today, and we can proceed with our discussion. Yeah.
So, I am Furkan, an intern at Process Technology Clinic. And today, um, we're going to be talking about social media addiction.
I see. All right, all right. So as usual, guys, if you have any questions that related to our topic today, so do ask us in our chat box in our live sharing, so that we'll try our best to communicate with you guys and then answer your questions appropriately lah. So let's begin our discussion today for call.
So, today we're going to be first talking about what exactly social media addiction is. Then we will be discussing the causes of social media addiction, as well as the effects of social media addiction. And finally, we'll be covering ways to manage social media addiction.
I see. All right, all right, all right. So we're gonna talk about what is social media and then the causes, the effects of social media, as well as how to manage the social media addiction itself, isn't it?
So,
Yep. All right.
I'll start
So let's discuss.
by discussing what exactly is social media
Yeah,
addiction.
yeah.
So, social media addiction is not a formal diagnosis and there's no strict definition, but it's usually referring to when someone is using social media in a way that's excessive and compulsive and they aren't able to control it, and in a way that is negatively affecting their life. And this is a growing issue. It's estimated that 18 to 22% of people use social media in a way that would meet the criteria for addiction, which is
Yeah, it's a big population actually. It's a big percentage in a population. It's up to 22%, guys. Oh,
that's
that's very high.
1 in 5 people.
1 in 5 people. Yes, 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 yes. That's very high. Mm.
And addictions normally fall into two categories, right? We
Okay.
have substance
Mm.
addictions, which is when someone is using a particular substance like alcohol or a drug, and in this case, the drug is activating um, their reward system and it's causing changes in their brain, and this makes them physically depend on the drug, so they need it to feel good, or their body will feel very bad. Now, the other type are behavioral addictions, and this is the type that social media addiction falls into. And in this type, as someone is addicted to a behavior very rewarding or exciting. For example, gambling addiction is a common
Uh-huh.
one. And in this case, um, people do and people do the thing that they're addicted to, and it activates their reward system. And there's no physical dependency, but it can still create changes in the same parts of the brain that substance abuse addictions create. So they aren't that different.
I see. So there are two types of addiction. First, a substance addiction, and the second is behavioral addictions. And social media addiction is under the category of behavioral addiction. So with no substance, but you get addicted to it, isn't it? Mm, mm, mm.
It's
I
psychological.
Mm. So basically, social media. Okay, how to determine whether someone is excessively use social media? Is it 4 hours? Is it 3 hours? Or how to actually to evaluate this kind of situations?
Great.
Uh,
Sorry. Well, there's no one number, because people can use social media in ways that are healthy, even if they're using it a lot. For example, if someone's using it for their job, or if someone just gets a lot of fulfillment out of it. But it's classified as an addiction when it's detrimental to their life and they can't control it. So if someone um, is only using social media for maybe half an hour a day, but they always have this craving that they want to use it and they're always thinking about it, then even if they're not using it a lot, they could still be considered as addicted.
I see. So it's not depends on the hours. Solely focus on the hours of using social media itself, but it's more on urging the craving feelings of using social media. And I like when you say that when it interferes other area of life, meaning that what I understand from this statement where if someone use social media and you have another important things to do in your life, for example your work, things like that, you have a tendency to procrastinate or delay in doing this thing because prioritizing the social media itself. So it that's what I mean by interference. What I understand from your explanation there, when it's interfere other area of life, which is work, social life, or our sleeping time, things like that, is interfere, and then that's become a sign of social media addiction itself. So you're prioritizing using the social media instead of the important things, other important things in your life, isn't it?
Definitely, it takes me
Mm,
the aspect of your
mm.
life.
I see. But sometimes we are not realize, yeah, I use, but sometimes we are not realize this thing happen. And basically how we got aware that our social media use is actually affecting ourselves, and it's actually we are towards addiction itself. So yeah, it's pretty difficult, sometimes what we are doing we are not realizing it, especially this is not caused by the substance. If it's substance, we know, oh, because of this, because we can see it, but this not related to substance. So it's pretty difficult sometimes to realize that we may have sign of the addiction itself.
Yeah, definitely. It can be hard to tell that we're getting addicted to something. We don't always notice it. I think one good way to check if you're really addicted to something is to not use it for a while and then see how that makes you feel. Because if it's easy to avoid using something, then it means you're not dependent on it. But if like avoiding social media for a day is very difficult, then that could be a sign of something deeper.
I see. So it depends on the individual itself, how it feels when you use social media. Not just that, I think it's also you may ask your circle itself. You may ask your friends, whether your friends or your family member, how your social media usage. And not just that, you also may look at your phone at screen time. They will present some percentage of how many hours have you spent in using social media, and you compare with the way how your routine itself, is it affected or not affected. If it's affected, it's a sign of addiction itself. So, and by asking our friends, our circle, so it's also you may receive some sort of informations whether you yeah have addicted to social media or not. Because I have clients who have this kind of addictions and telling me that at first they are not realized that they have addictions, but they received complaint, or they received feedback from their friends telling that, oh, you always with your phone. It's like, yeah, you cannot separate yourself, you cannot apart yourself from the phone itself. So that's the indicator, that's one of the indicator telling you that you may have some sort of addiction in social media use. Because nowadays we know that it's pretty difficult for us to get away from our phone, especially, right? So everything is there. We buy foods using phone, we buy groceries using phone, we connect with people using phone. Everything nowadays we use phone, so that we cannot run away from using phone itself. But how this how by using phone we are not addicted to phone, or we are not addicted to what we use in our phone, especially in our social media. So this is the important thing lah, for all of you to understand that you may not realize that you are addicted to social media, but this may give you some consequences in the future if you are addicted to social media. So see, as you said to, as you explained to us just now, that Furqan, fee up to 22%, up to 22% people experiencing addiction with social media. So that's a lot. One in five, one in five. So that's a lot actually. So because of that, it's good if we could reflect ourselves whether our usage is interfering our other areas of our life. And by understanding this thing, we may realize that we might get the addiction itself. So when you get addiction itself, so yeah, there will be a lot of things lah I need to do, and it disturb a lot of areas in our life lah when we get addicted to social media or to our phone itself. Yeah.
Sometimes it takes an outside perspective to tell. And I know
Yeah.
when I check my screen time, it's much more than I expected it to be.
I see. So do you have friends or yourself experiencing this social media addiction?
I think it's a common issue in our age group, especially, because we're so reliant on social media to communicate and to learn about the world, and um, it can be very hard to tell how reliant we're becoming on it and whether we're becoming addicted.
Yeah. Yeah, correct. I myself, when I was studying in my bachelor degree back then, I also experienced the same thing. I'm not realizing that I'm addicted to the social media, But my friends pointed out this to me, telling that, oh, Shari, I see that it seems like you're always with your phone, and you are neglecting people around you, ignoring people. Yeah, people talk to you and then you won't listen to them. Things like that. I get this kind of feedback from my close friends, and after that, I started to realize that my social media use is quite high actually, and I do some screening tests for addiction itself, and it meet criteria for smartphone addiction. So that's so we may not be realized this thing, and it happens to us. So after that, I started to realize, and I try to control that as well lah. I try to control the addiction itself, but it's pretty difficult to control the when you are addicted to something that is invisible.
Yeah,
That is something that you cannot, yeah, you cannot run away from, and it's a invisible addiction. It's inside you. It's psychologically addicted, and
yeah.
yeah.
I've always to pay a lot of attention to how I'm using social media,
Uh-huh.
um, because if you don't pay attention to it, it's very easy to get hooked onto it and get addicted.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, because everything is easy, right? Everything is easy in our world nowadays. Just using phone, you get everything. uh, yeah, that is the thing lah. About our about social media addiction itself. But what is the causes actually? What is the causes of this social media? I would like to explain you a few causes lah, a few causes that develop this addiction. So as Furqan explained with all of us to all of us just now, the addiction is developing. Addiction is developing where it's not sudden lah. It's not sudden. It is developed throughout the time. So that over the time is developed. So when it's developed over the time, so it started with our behavior lah, self-control itself. And we know that the nature of social media itself, how it's developed, is to associate ourselves with rewards and positive emotions. For example, that what has been portrayed in our social media, everything is good, everything is beautiful, everything is smart, everything is perfect lah in our social media. So when the creation of this application showed some sort of reward, some sort of beautiful thing. It's in line with our desire. It's in line with our desire. Oh, I like that. For example, that people don't like to go out and then suffer themselves to need to go parking, need to do this. So using social media, using Instagram, you just click and then check the admin, and then you can buy something. You want to buy clothes, you just check in Instagram. You want to buy foods, you just check in the TikTok shop. So all these things make it convenient. So it's some sort of rewarding. So once it gives some reward to ourselves, this we call as conditioning. So conditioning means that you condition yourself by using this thing, you get reward. So you already familiar with this pattern at the end. So starting develop and then develop, and then you reach to the level of psychological dependence. Psychological dependence means that you started to not engaging with social. You started to feel more. You just wanted to do things easily. You just wanted to get things faster, so everything will be easy for your life. So this is some sort of reward. So this developed psychological dependence on you. So after the level of psychological dependence, and it becomes addiction, when you can. How it became addiction? Because it's affected the area or other area of your life. If it's not affected yet, we developing the psychological dependency, which associated with rewards and positive emotions. So that's the first cause of addiction itself. Meaning that you familiar yourself by conditioning yourself with positive rewards and positive emotions and reward. So that's the first cause of social media addiction. The second is would be related to social anxiety. So that that a lot of people fear to hang out with people, to socialize themselves. There's some sort of fear inside. So when you fear in communicating with people, so you spend more time in social media, which is you can be a silent reader. You can be people don't know you much. So, but you can connect with people. You can see what these people's doing, where these people going. So you can see all these things. So when you can see all these things when it comes to socialization, so it's distance you from the actualized socialization. So when you distance yourself from actual social setting, social interactions, physical interaction with people, this making you more distant, and it's actually enhance the social anxiety itself. So when it enhanced the social anxiety, and then it started lah you started wanted to afraid to use afraid to see people more. When you're afraid to see people more, you see you access to social media more. So when you access to social media more, over the time is developed the addiction itself. So these two causes is main causes, which is many people experiencing lah, is how the addiction is developed because of these causes. Or people also develop this addiction due to self-esteem issue. So self-esteem issue, people just be a silent reader and get update from this world through social media, and then from that, at first to just get information, at first just to know better about yourself, at first just to actually exploring what exploring information, knowledge in social media. But at the end, whenever whenever you contact with reality, is totally different situations, making you feel doubt with yourself. What you see is different, and then when you go to reality, is pretty different situation. So those who treat them, those who have a low self-esteem and then use social media without exposing to real situation, enhancing, make it your self-esteem worse, and it worsen your self-esteem lah actually. So uh, and so that is the thing lah. So when you have low self-esteem, and then use social media, avoiding social real connection with people, avoiding real life situation, so that's actually gonna enhance, making you feel more doubt, making your self-esteem lower itself. So this is another cause of social media addiction itself. uh, this is the causes of social media addiction itself. Would you like to add more? Maybe you can give some opinion related to causes of social media addiction, Furqan.
Yeah, of course. I think another important cause is it's not all just about us, right? Because social media applications and websites are specifically designed to be as engaging and as addictive as possible, right? Because you know, social media apps, they want you to be using it for as much as you can. The more you're using the app, the more your attention is given to the app, the more profit the app makes. So it's intentionally designed so that it's difficult to stop using it, because the more you're using it, the more it benefits the creators, which is why it's not only a psychological issue, it's a societal issue as well.
Yes, I do agree with you, because of course the developer of the application wanted people to engage more in their platforms, right? So it's a business. It's not, that's the intention. So however, excessively using the platform to get the positive emotion are gonna develop this addiction. Even though it's good, but it's gonna develop addiction, will bring a lot of negative consequences in the future. For example, there are a lot of things that is good, but when you are addicted, it give you it give you a lot of consequences in the future. For example, many people watch pornography. It's interesting, it's enjoyable, it's satisfying, but when it become addicted to it, and then it cause a lot of it give you a lot of consequences in the future. So not necessarily something that is good is good for you, something that is best and beautiful is good for you. So you if we using the advantage of the platform, the advantage of the application wisely, that's good. But if we are able to control the usage of the platform or the social media, that leads to that brings a lot of consequences lah,
Yeah.
for our future.
And on Oh, a lot of social media websites use sexual content as another way to make their platforms more engaging or more addictive,
Ah,
and very
uh,
be a big problem. Another
yeah,
thing to note is that young people can be especially vulnerable to social media addiction because when you are in that age group, particularly as a teenager and a young adult, you have a strong need for peer acceptance,
yeah.
and yeah, can provide a way to give that to you, which can get people addicted at young ages.
Yes, 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 correct, correct. So in our social media, sometimes we are accepted by friends, virtual friends, as compared to we are accepted in our real friends. So that in this situation also making especially young adults to feel more positive emotions. So when they are accepted in this virtual life, so that's more the engagement with our social with the social media also will be higher lah. When the engagement higher, it may creates to psychological dependence, and then after that go to addiction. So when it becomes addiction again, it's disturbed and it's interrupt with other area of our life. So that is the causes lah. Another important causes of social media addiction is that when someone always feel lonely and need for connection, because sometimes there are people out there who try to make friends with people, but people don't want to be friends with you. Things like that happen, so making you feel always lonely. So due to a lot of reason lah, maybe because of your personality that is not okay, maybe because of the appearance that is not okay, maybe the way how you talk to people that is not okay, from people judgment lah, from people perceptions, that whenever you try to make friends, and this reason become a barrier for you to make friends with them. So when you have barriers to make friends with real life, and then you feel the loneliness and emptiness, and the needs for connection is high, because the need for connection is high is common, since we are human, so we are social being. So social being means that uh, you want to connect with people, because we are social being, we want to connect with people, so that's the nature of us as a human being. But when in real life we cannot make friends, we cannot connect with people, so that's actually create the loneliness and emptiness feeling. So when this feeling develops, so we need to find some sort of coping to deal with this feeling. So one of the ways in dealing with this loneliness and emptiness feeling is by using our social media. So when we look at our social media, at least we can distract ourselves lah from feeling lonely. So when we distract ourselves from feeling lonely, and then after that, we started to engage more, keep scrolling our phone, look at others people life, and then keep distracting ourselves. And after that is develop lah the addiction. So that's the common causes of social media addiction itself, which is the feeling of loneliness and needs for connection, as well as the feeling of emptiness inside us. So I think we talked a lot about causes, Danny.
Yeah.
Furqan. So,
But
do you want to add more, or you wanted to explain about the effects of social media itself?
yeah, I think we can move on to the effects. Although I think one last thing I wanted to mention was and one reason it can be difficult to quit social media addiction or break off from it is because of the fear of missing out.
Uh,
Because a lot of things on social media that are informing you, or things that your friends are doing, there can be a really strong anxiety with not having access to that, not being able to see what's going on, not being able to get updates. You feel disconnected and you feel like there's something important that you're missing out on, and that can make it really difficult to quit. It can keep you coming back to the applications.
Yes, correct, correct, correct. We are not updated as compared to our friends, right? So we started to compare, or the I'm missing something, there are things like that, and then that's also we call it as codependence. Codependence, a barrier for you from getting out from the loop of addiction itself is codependency. So fear of missing out is one of the causes lah, and it becomes a codependence for you to breaking the cycle of addiction itself. Yeah. Okay, good. That I think yeah, for nowadays young people have this fear of missing out, and we have talked about fear of missing out in our last discussion before. So that if you wanted to know more about fear of missing out, you may refer to our previous discussion in our YouTube channel. So let's talk about the effects of social media addictions for Corn.
Yeah. So um, when someone is addicted to social media, it can often reduce their quality friendships and quality relationships in life. Because as mentioned, you can often turn to social media addiction to like replace your need for social connection online. And when you're, getting your needs for social media, social connection met through an app, then you're not going out in person and spending time with your friends, and this can over time, weaken your friendships, and also reduce your ability to learn social skills, relying on an app instead of developing those skills for communicating in person.
Yeah, yes, yes, correct, correct, correct. So that's related to the quality of the relationship itself reduced a lot when we engage more in our social media platforms lah. And we do have one comment here from Umar Soros, which is the thing with social media is it's all subconscious. My screen time is ridiculous sometimes. It don't even realize how long I've been. Yes, that is a sign. That is a sign, teamers. So basically, we are not realizing this thing. Actually, we are experiencing this thing. We are not realizing it because it's not a substance. It's not substance, and we cannot leave our phone away from us. We have to bring with us, and it's not something that is dangerous to bring, like drug, things like that. Right, and it's not substance, and because of this we are not realize that actually it's happening, so we are not aware of this thing lah. So but I'm glad that you started to aware that the usage of your social media is pretty ridiculous. So that I think it's a starting point of realization in understanding the social media addiction itself. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
media addiction, it can be an invisible addiction. It's not very.
yeah.
I know with myself a lot of times, when I'm using my phone, it's completely habitual. Like I'm waiting for a train or something. I don't even think about it. I'm already pulling out my phone, scrolling through reels. It's just like a circuit that's like automatic in my brain, and
Yeah.
that can make it difficult to distance yourself from it. It can make it difficult to control this behavior.
Yes, yes, yes. Agree, agree. So what's other effects of social media addiction for Corn?
Yeah, so social media addiction can also worsen symptoms of anxiety and depression. There's a lot of uh, research on social media use and how it affects our mental health. And when you're addicted and you're spending a lot of time on social media, this can really have a negative effect on your mental health. Um, Social media addiction can also it can get in the way of other important things in your life, which can affect your academic performance or your work performance. Because if you're spending a lot of time on social media and not able to control this, then you have much less time for like other important things. You procrastinate on assignments perhaps, or you're less focused at work. and that can be like a serious issue.
Yeah. Yeah, these very serious issues, and we noticed that if you notice that your performance in a study, in academy, or in workplace that is dropping, so one of the reason may be due to the social media itself, because it's definitely if you use more your social media, and then you may procrastinate in doing things that is important lah in your life. For example, studying, and then do your work itself. And during working also, you have a tendency to just keep checking out your notification, things like that. So it's also part of the addiction and may interfere your academic and work performance. Not just that, but family as well are affected. So when you are having dinner together and everybody's playing their phones, things like that, the communications there is not happening. So that's how this affecting how this social media affect the relationship, work performance, academic performance. Not just that, one of the important information that I would like to share with you guys today is that how the social media could affect the quality of sleep itself. As we know that sleep is 1/3 of our life. So if we live in this world for 30 years, so 10 years is just about sleep itself. So this information telling us that how important is our sleep. So many research stated have investigated the effects of social media with sleep and significantly impact the sleep itself. Why? Okay. As we know that our social media, our phone will exhibit or portray a blue light array, so that when at night, so we supposed to not get any light. Our eyes not supposed to get any input from light itself for us to sleep. But when we turn off our bedroom lights, and then we started to use phone, and then this blue light may affect the inputs to our brain. So when our eyes look at the phone and started brain started to being activated again. So when our brain is activated again, and then that gives some sort of input that need to be processed by our brain, so it's being more alert and we have energy to think. So when we have energy, that's how delayed our sleep routine. So when it's delayed, we already spend a lot of time in our sleep latency, so that if you have a longer sleep latency, it's gonna affect your sleep quality at night. So you don't have more time to sleep, you have less time to sleep, and you need to wake up in the morning. And then once you wake up in the morning, I'm pretty sure that you gotta be tired and a feeling of exhausted in the morning. Or it's like every day is a every day is a Monday, so it's a Monday blues. It's like that. So it's pretty difficult to wake up in the morning due to the shortened time of sleeping. But is due to our sleep, is due to our social media use. So it's a cycle. You use social media, is affect your sleep. When you don't get enough sleep and quality of sleep, and then you started to goes back to this routine, and it's kind of a cycle. It's a negative cycle of addiction itself. So it's gonna, once it's affect the sleep, so other area of life is affected. It is increase physical health issues with your with our physical health, is increase the issues with our psychological health, and it's yeah, it give a lot of consequences lah, basically, to our body and to our psychology. And oh, this is very important. That's why controlling the usage of social media will help to improve our sleep. And once it's improve our sleep, that's better lah, for our life. That's gonna improve our performance in other areas of our life. So that's another consequences when you excessively use the social media itself. Other consequences or other effects of social media for Con?
Definitely. But before that, we've got a great comment from Timosaurus. He says, "Great point about relationships too earlier. Dating apps and online persona provide convenient ways of connecting with others that replace authentic relationships we build at work slash event slash interest." I think a great thing about that is it's it is more convenient to use social media to connect with people than online, than in person. When you're
Yeah.
talking to someone in person, calling someone or making plans, it's scary, it's difficult, it's scary. There's more of a fear of rejection, and when you're being there in person rather than putting on online persona, there's more of a fear to yourself as well.
Yeah.
So social media can be more convenient, and that can be an issue, because if we take, the brain wants to do what's easier. It doesn't want to do what's difficult. And so we can end up getting in the habit of only using social media to connect, and missing out on the really important and meaningful relationships we can build in person.
Yes, yes, correct. I do agree. I do agree with that statements as well. So as we mentioned that the nature of the social media platform itself to make us wanted to spend more time in using the social media itself. So the nature of the platform itself is actually for us to use more,
Yeah.
so that if we fall in the trap of keep using the social media to get some sort of comfort, to get some sort of positive emotion through this platform. So that is the consequences that we may receive from our decision lah, in making in using the social media itself.
Um,
Mm-mm.
um, on the other effects of social media, uh, oftentimes using excessive social media can wear down your self-esteem, because social media, it's oftentimes posts about people whose lives seem better than you, or who seem more attractive than you, or have more, and it makes you feel worse about yourself as a person. um, Another important effect of social media addiction is, we've mentioned that it can, impact your academic performance, take up a lot of time. It can also reduce your motivation to do these other things in your life, because, social media activates your reward system. It's very exciting. It floods your brain with dopamine, and when excited by something in social media, other things in life can seem less interesting to you. You can reduce your motivation to do other things in life when you're spending. I don't know about anyone else, but when I spend a lot of time scrolling reels, or spending time on social media, I feel very drained. There's less motivation to like do other things after that. It can be very, very tiring. So, a lot of the stuff is connected. And finally, you might notice a lot of the effects of social media are very, very similar to the causes of it. And that's because social media addiction can often be like a negative cycle, right? Because many of these negative effects, like anxiety, low self-esteem, reduced quality relationships, all these things can also increase someone's need and need for social media. It increases their loneliness, it increases their negative feelings. And this results in a cycle where the more you use social media and the more addicted to it become, the more you start to need it, and the more of like a void that grows in your life that you need it to fill.
Yes, 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 yes. The more we use our social media, the more we are addicted to it. So, that is challenging, that is challenging, especially in our era nowadays lah. Everything, is on our phone, which is very, very and also interestingly that all the social media platforms meet our psychological needs, that if you look at our psychological needs, the physiological needs, which is all foods, all the things like physiologically is met by the social media. Other than that, we look at our love and belongingness need, we do have in our social media. So self-esteem need, we do have in our social media. Self-actualization, contribution to our community, things like that. So we do have by using our social media. So we get lots of psychological needs from this social media use. So that's why it's pretty difficult for us to get out from this kind of cycle. But we still have to control, we still have to manage this kind of this use this addiction to prevent ourselves from having or from experiencing these negative effects of social media itself. But how to manage it, Furqan, is it's challenging, you know, when we talk about how to manage the things that you cannot apart yourself from the things or the things that you cannot avoid in using in it. So it's pretty difficult to manage. But we're gonna discuss today few ways, few possible ways that you can do to manage your social media usage itself. So maybe you can help us understand few tips.
Yeah. So there are a few different practical strategies we can use to try and manage and regulate our use of social media. The first is to prioritize in-person interactions. So if, of course, social media can fulfill our need for connection, and so if we just stop using social media, then we still have those needs that we need to meet, which is why it's important to build um, alternative sources to gain connection. So maybe calling up a friend or making some plans, and having other things in your life that stop you from depending on social media so much.
Yeah. So what you're trying to say is that we prioritize in-person interaction with people, real life connection, isn't it? Instead of a virtual connection, is it?
Exactly. Yeah. And
Yeah, because when you keep using social media, you know, real life social interaction, yeah, we're gonna distance ourselves from experiencing real life social connection, real life interaction. So since we know that this is the consequences, if you keep avoiding this kind of interaction, so you keep using the social media, it gives you lots of consequences where your self-esteem drop, your motivations drop. It affects a lot of things. So that by hook or by crook, we have to push ourselves. At least we do have this real life connection with people. So not just focusing on our phone, focusing our social media, living our own life without connecting with other people. We may need to push ourselves to get the real life connection, especially for those who work with laptop, for those who work with online platform, who work remotely. So they have a tendency, they have more tendency to be addicted with social media because of the nature of the work itself. So that for those people, this is the yeah, by hook or by crook, push yourself to be in a real life social interaction is needed in order for you to reduce the dependency towards your social media itself. Because is under the behavioral activation, where you need to activate your behavior to do things in real life instead of just keep yourself in your house or things like that, which is gonna give you a lot of consequences emotionally, psychologically, and also your health as well. So that by hook or by crook, push yourself to be in the reality, be in the real life social interaction. So that's behavioral activation will help you to reduce the dependency towards social media itself. And another method would be the digital detox, where you may need to detach yourself from technology for a period of time, so that make sure that there are times in a day that you off your phone, you off your social media, do not disturb, and try to detach yourself from any technology from especially phone lah, especially phone, detach yourself. So by practicing psychological detachment will help you to reduce and break the cycle of addiction itself, but it needs to be consistent lah. For example, at this hour, so I prevent myself from using phone, things like that. So this psychological detachment and this stop will reduce the dependency itself. So once it reduce, it may help to break the cycle of addiction. So yeah, that's about the digital detox. Also, one of the ways in breaking the cycle of social media addiction.
Some smaller ways to regulate and manage social media um, usage. We can do things like schedule a time for notifications, which is something I personally like to do. Where oftentimes when we're getting notifications throughout the day, it's pulling us out of whatever we're doing and it's pulling us back into social media. And often I get a notification and I just check it quickly, and already I'm spending 20 minutes or an hour just scrolling after that. So one good thing you can do is to bundle your notifications, which is that most smartphones offer now, where you will get all your notifications in like one batch at the end of the day, and you can check them all at once instead of going through them sporadically. And this helps create some balance between time you're spending online, time you're spending offline. Um, another good strategy is to use a screen time blocker. So what these settings do on your phone is you can first of all monitor how much time you're spending on each app, which is very good for getting awareness, and you can set limits for how much time you want to spend on an app. So this way you can use your social media apps more intentionally. If you're planning in the day to spend 1 hour on the app and you set a timer for that, then that way you keep making sure that you're not spending more time than you plan to, and it can put a barrier as well between you and the app you're using.
Mm-mm. Yes, I do agree. By scheduling a time for a notification and use the screen time blocker will help lah. Since we deal with technology, something that's pretty difficult for us to control, but we try to control using the features in the phone itself lah. And the features in the phone itself, hopefully it may help lah in controlling our social media use. And you know that, Furqan, that people use social media because it gives it's a coping for them. It's a coping strategies for them to reduce stress, things like that. Yeah, they think that way when they use stress. It's actually when they use social media, it gives some sort of relief. But actually, if the longer you use social media and you become addicted, it's coping mechanism, but it becomes unhealthy coping mechanism, which can give you a lot of consequences in the future. Uh, and that's why to break this cycle, replacing our coping mechanism with a healthier coping strategies would be helpful. For example, going for walk, hang out with friends, talking to your friends, getting some exercise, drawing, or do some activities outside, hiking, yoga, painting. These activities are actually more interaction and more environmentally connected activities will help to reduce the stress level, and also apa ni, we call it, it becomes our coping mechanism itself. So when you replace this unhealthy coping mechanism with more healthier coping mechanism, you can also feel the reduction in your stress level, at the same time not be addicted to your social media itself. So that's another strategies when dealing with social media addiction, by replacing your social media use with other coping strategies, which is more healthy strategies.
Yeah, because we don't want to only restrict social media because we're still relying on media for some things. So we want to be
Correct.
we're going to be using to meet those needs instead of social media, like hobbies or in-person interactions.
Yeah,
That's an
yeah. So we do have questions. What app is this called?
yeah, on iPhone, in the default settings on iPhone, um, we have tools for managing your screen time and setting blockers. But another app I like to use to put like a barrier between the app to prevent it from being a habitual thing. This app, when you open up Instagram, for example, it will give you like a 10-second sort of reflection cooldown, and you can think about, am I using this habitually, or am I using this application deliberately? So this one's called OneSec. I can put it in the comments. This app has been very helpful for me. We're not sponsored by them, but it basically puts the reflection on your screen whenever you choose to use an app, so that you're thinking about whether you're using it intentionally or whether it was just like a habit. And that helped me be more aware of what I'm doing.
yeah. All right, that's great. That's great. That's great application as well. So now that we use technology to deal with technology lah.
Yeah.
And last but not least, Furqan, that okay, if let's say that you have tried all the methods that we've shared with you just now, and it still is pretty difficult for you to break the cycle of addiction in using your social media, so that we will encourage you to go for psychotherapy and talk to a counselor or talk to a psychologist and discuss about this issue with your therapist, because if you notice that you have experienced these consequences when it comes to your usage of social media, so these consequences, if you notice it's impact your life, and then psychotherapy I think is encouraged lah, to do, so that you go and meet your psychologist, go meet your counselors, go meet your therapists and discuss about these issues, because in psychotherapy they do have a few approach that may align with this social media addiction. For example, that by having a cognitive behavioral therapy approach with your therapist will help you in and manage your behavior as well as your own thought when it comes to social media addiction itself, so that by discussing this issue with your therapist may help you to regulate your emotions, and not just that, controlling your behavior and have a more rational way of thinking, so that by having all these things it may reduce your addiction towards social media itself, and reduce the dependency towards social media. So we do encourage you, if you have tried all other methods to reduce your addiction level, you reduce your dependency level, we do encourage you to go for psychotherapy and discuss this with your therapist. Here at PPC, we also provided these services. So if you would like to have this psychotherapy, you may just contact us directly through our WhatsApp. So to our WhatsApp, and then we'll try to discuss with you about this issue. All right. So I think that our time is limited. So we come to an end of our sharing today. So before we leave the discussion, do you have anything else that you would like to share with our audience today, Furqan?
Um. Well, just to say that there's nothing wrong with seeking help when you need it, and it can be a very brave thing to do, in fact, to recognize that, I have a problem with this behavior, and I want to change it, So, um, if there's something you've tried methods to if you've tried methods to avoid social media addiction, and it's still a problem, then seeking help is always advised.
Yes, 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 yes. So do seek help if you do have problems, and your therapist will try their best to help you in navigating your issues. So I think that for today's session, that's all for our live sharing session. Hope to see you guys again in our next live session, sharing session in our Instagram platform. So that's all for today's session. Thank you and have a nice day ahead. Bye.
Bye.